Yo, what's going on, boys? How you guys doing today? Welcome back to this new video. And in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the updated Warlock build. Now the Heresy is here with all the changes and all the arc mods. We can really see what this build is capable of. Now after using it for a couple hours, I like to report that this build is as good as I thought it was going to be. Not only can you spam supers ridiculously fast, come on, just look at this clip of me just building a super just so quickly. But you also get a ton of ability energy, a bunch of turrets, and also, most importantly, a bunch of blind enemies that can't really hurt you, making everything just a lot easier. So that's what the build is going to be all about today. And the two exotics that you're going to need for this build is of course the Geomags and the Cohort. As long as you have these two exotics, you're going to be able to make the build work. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you do, remember to leave a like and subscribe to the channel in case you guys aren't already for more builds. But anyways, let's get into it. I'm gonna start this build by taking a look at our exotics, more specifically our exotic piece of armor, since that's basically the basis of the whole build. Now the Geomags just got buffed this week. Now they can actually top up your bolt charge, meaning that you can use bolt charge a lot more often with your Geomags. But the build that I was really excited about was actually the other one, where you get more super energy per ionic trace. And it was a huge buff. Before you used to get 2%, but now it's 7%. Every time that you pick up an ionic trace, you see your super bar just jump. And if you pick up like 2 or 3 of them, it is crazy the amount of super energy you can get, which leads to a couple of situations, if there's enough enemies around, where you go from having no super to full super in just a couple of seconds. Now don't expect this to happen every single time. You basically have to have a lot of enemies up close, so you can really just go through them with your trace rifle. But the more enemies that are around, basically the faster you get your supers. That's pretty much how you want to look at this build. And if that wasn't good enough, Geomags will also extend our super duration, meaning that we get to put in some more damage against bosses, champions, and pretty much everything that has a lot of health. Now for exotic weapon, we're going to have the Cohort. It just got a 20% damage buff against miners, so it's better at killing some ats. And it also is the Ionic Trace Maker. Nothing makes Ionic Traces like the Cohort. This thing is crazy. Even when you're not getting kills, whenever you're just doing damage, you're gonna be making Ionic Traces. That's the main reason that we're using the Cohort. But since it's also a special weapon, it also is gonna work really well with our mods, making us even more Ionic Traces, and also basically blinding everything that we run into, which makes everything easier to kill the Cohort, which leads to even more Ionic Traces for more supers, more turrets, and also just more ability spam, because, you know, we all love that. Another great thing about the Cohort and the way that it makes Ionic Traces is that you don't really have to play with it a specific way. It just makes Ionic Traces like crazy, just normally, that's just its thing. Now moving on to our subclass, we are of course going to be on Pure Arc with Chaos Reach. Now for our abilities, you don't really have to go with a specific rift. It could be Healing Rift, it could be Empowering, both of them will work. Now when it comes to your melee, this is another one of those things that it's not really gonna matter. You can go with Bolt Lightning, you can go with Chain Lightning, both of them are gonna do pretty well, so just whichever you end up liking more. Now when it comes to the grenade, this is where things start to change, because I do have a big bias for the Flashbang Grenade. Since it blinds, it has really good synergy with the build. It can also deal with unstoppable champions, which is another really good thing about the Flashbang Grenade. It has a low cooldown, it does some pretty decent damage. It is just like the perfect arc grenade. Always go with the flashbang. Now moving on to the aspects, we're gonna have the brand new one, Ionic Sentry, as well as Electrostatic Mine. If you guys haven't picked up your new aspect, just go to Ikora and you can pick it up in just a few minutes. It's pretty easy. But let's start this off with Electrostatic Mine. Whenever we defeat targets with arc abilities, or whenever we defeat jolted or blinded targets, we're gonna create some Ionic Traces. And whenever we collect Ionic Traces, they immediately make us amplified. This is going to be a very easy way of making some Ionic Traces, since we're constantly going to be blinding enemies, and every time that we defeat those blind enemies, we're going to be making them. Also, this does stack with the Cohort, so from one enemy you could get like multiple Ionic Traces thanks to this, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful the amount of energy you can get from all those Ionic Traces we make with the Electrostatic Mine. It also gives us a very easy way of becoming amplified, meaning that we can take advantage of that damage resistance. And our second aspect is brand new one, the Ionic Sentry. Whenever we defeat targets with kinetic, arc weapons or arc abilities, we're going to be charging up our turret, When the turret is fully charged up, you can throw it just like a regular grenade, and it has like this cool animation. It's got blind targets on the initial impact wherever you throw it at, so you definitely want to throw it like right in the middle of a group of enemies. But be careful if you're throwing it too close, because it will blind you as well. I found that the hard way. Whenever I threw it like right in front of me and I just couldn't see anything. And after it hits the ground, it's gonna start chaining lightning to everything that's around it, and whenever it gets some kills, you gain some bolt charge. So this is gonna be a very consistent way of getting bolt charge, so we can take advantage of that ability as well. Now moving on to the fragments, the first one we're gonna have is the Spark of Frequency. Whenever we're amplified, it increases the stacks of bolt charge we gain from all sources. So if we're gonna get 1 stack of bolt charge from picking up like an ionic trace, or from getting a kill with our turret, we instead get 2, essentially cutting the time that it takes us to get that full bolt charge used by half, meaning that we can use it just a lot more often. After that, we're gonna have the Spark of Discharge. Our weapon final blows have a chance to create an ionic trace, so there's another way of creating some ionic traces, and also whenever we collect ionic traces, we gain a stack of bolt charge. And you've seen the amount of ionic traces we can actually make with this build, so this means that we're gonna be able to trigger bolt charge a lot. After that, we're gonna have the GOAT of the arc builds, the Spark of Beacons. Whenever we're amplified, our heavy and special ammo final blows blind enemies. And this thing has no cooldown. So as long as you keep killing things with your heavy or your special weapons, you're gonna keep doing those blind explosions. And this works beautiful with Electrostatic Mine. Since we're gonna be blind a bunch of things, we're gonna constantly be triggering that and creating a bunch of ionic traces. And this can also trigger the other things like our Cold Heart and also our Spark of Discharge. So not only is this gonna make the enemies easier to kill by blinding them, but also create ionic traces as well in a roundabout way. And the final fragment of course has to be the Spark of Resistance. We want as much damage resistance as we can get. We already get 15% from Amplified, but might as well get 25 from the Spark of Resistance, just so we can be a little bit tankier, so we can take more damage, and just so we can be a little more safe. Now moving on to the artifact, the main ones they want to use are going to be the arc ones. So first of all, you have Overcloak and Load. This is going to give you increased reload speed and handling on your arc weapons whenever we're amplified. Since we're amplified all the time, this is basically just permanently on. After that, you also want to have Dielectric. Whenever we defeat arc debuff targets, so any blinded targets, we're going to gain some bolt charge. Again, just another way of gaining even more bolt charge, so we can spam it even more. It is crazy the amount of bolt charge we can actually trigger. I didn't expect us to actually be able to trigger it this much. I definitely saw that there was going to be some synergy, but it ended up actually exceeding my expectations, and we were able to trigger it a lot more often. You're just going to see just random lightning strikes every now and then as you're playing, and that's just you triggering bolt charge just over and over again. So this one's fantastic, but you definitely want that boosted version, which makes it so you spawn Orbs of Power whenever you kill some of those debuff targets, and also it gives you a small amount of health. This is just like the perfect mod for any arc build, and if you're wondering how to boost it, you essentially have to get to level 7 in the seasonal ranks. That's when you unlock this and you'll be able to boost it, so you can take advantage of this. Flashover is also really good. It makes the lightning bolts deal more damage, so overall they're just more effective, and since we're triggering so many of them with bolt charge, this is just good. Another one that's really good is Dreadful Finisher, so you can make some special ammo, and so you can always be topped off without having to use like special ammo finder. Now if you don't have this, like me, then you definitely are still gonna have to run special ammo finder on your class item. And while I don't have this final row perks, you definitely want the Defibrillating Blast. Whenever you stun a champion, you immediately gain maximum stacks of bolt charge, so you basically get like a free bolt charge trigger, and it will also make an arc bolt that heals you and jolts combatants. So this is just fantastic. If there's something next to like the champion, they're gonna get jolted, the champion itself is also gonna get jolted, and you're also gonna get some health. Just another fantastic mod. It's just a shame that I don't have it yet, so I can't really use it and like show you how it's like. Lastly, we're gonna have the armor mods. For the helmet, you want Special Ammo Scout, Special Ammo Finder, and Harmonic Siphon, so we can make some orbs. The orbs are very important, not only to get our abilities back faster, but also to get some heals. And you definitely want Special Ammo Finder, since we're essentially gonna be maining a special weapon. For your gauntlets, you want impact induction, momentum transfer, and also bolstering detonation, so you can get your class ability, your grenade, and also your melee just a lot faster when using your other two abilities. For your chest piece is some pretty normal stuff, it's just the resistances. For the boots, we're gonna have Absolution, Recuperation, and also Restoration, so we can heal with orbs as well as get our abilities back. And lastly, for the class item, we're gonna have Proximity Ward, Reaper, and Special Ammo Finisher. Special Ammo Finisher is our failsafe. If we just cannot find any special ammo, we can use our armor charge and get special ammo this way. It's pretty much a must-have where every time that I have a build where it really relies on a special weapon, you definitely always want to have this, so even when you're not lucky, you always have a way of getting some ammo. And Proximity Ward is just to keep us safe for whenever we go for our special finisher, to make sure that we always make it out alive. And with that, it's actually going to be the end of the build. Like always, there's going to be a dim link in the comments and also in the description, in case you guys just want to equip this build with one click. And I really hope you guys enjoy it. It's really fun just being able to spam Chaos Reach as much as this build lets you. And also whenever there's a lot of ads around and you're constantly making ionic traces and your super just comes back super quickly, it is very satisfying. It kind of turns into a mini game, just how fast you can actually get your super. So you kind of start looking for like groups of enemies just so you can destroy them with your trace rifle and get a bunch of ionic traces. As long as you kill one enemy, pretty much a group of enemies becomes like defenseless, since they're all gonna be blind, so you wanna just go and just tear through groups of enemies. I love this build. I was really excited when I saw all the changes that were coming to the Geomags, and it's just as I hoped it was gonna be. It really reminds me of the old Geomags, where you can just spam supers like crazy. That's the same feeling that we get with this one, but somehow even crazier, because there's been multiple times in like boss fights where I get to like super the boss like 4 or 5 times. It is absolutely crazy. You just gotta make sure that as soon as you use your super, you start looking for opportunities to get some ionic traces by killing some ads. As long as you keep doing that, you're definitely gonna be able to spam supers like crazy. But even if you're not on the hunt for every single enemy that you see, you're still gonna be getting your super back faster just by playing with this build, just because you make ionic traces for basically doing anything. Even you shooting the cohort at an enemy gives you ionic traces. It is very hard to not get your super back really fast with this build. So hopefully you guys enjoy it, hopefully you guys have some fun with it, and get in there and start spamming some supers. Take care everyone, have a good rest of the day, peace.